So, in terms of what we're seeing for buzz as it relates to ChatGPT and other AI chatbots, is there anything similar that you remember in your covering of this industry over the last couple of decades?
I mean, it precedes me, but the corollary that everyone points to on this is the moment that the iPhone was released in 2007, because when that happened, there was anticipation across the tech industry that it was going to unlock new opportunities. That this was going to be a platform, in other words, that would foster new businesses. And we didn't really see that until 2010, but you saw it in the kind of creation of Uber and Airbnb and this whole app ecosystem that sprung up on the back of the iPhone. And that's what really people point to when they talk about this generative AI movement.
It seems like different businesses are trying to find different ways to make AI and ChatGPT and other alternatives, fit into what they're trying to sell. What are some of the examples that you've seen as far as how other businesses are trying to incorporate these into their strategies?
Well, the story that we wrote really kicked off with a conversation with Aaron Levy of Box. It's a cloud computing company that assists other businesses. So it's a B2B company that assists other businesses in managing their information. And the moment he tinkered around with ChatGPT, he basically, hit the emergency brake on their business, pulled together a bunch of his team and said, how do we figure out how to incorporate this into what we're doing? And what he wants to do is essentially give businesses the chance to incorporate a ChatGPT-like experience into analyzing, say, HR. So HR documents. So if you had a question like, how many holidays do we get this year? You don't have to scroll through the endless array of documentation that your company provides you with, but you just ask the chatbot that, and then you could follow up with the prompt like, do we get President's Day off? And the chatbot could say yes, and provide you what day that is. That's one of the implementations he sees, and there are plenty of other businesses that are looking at other options as well.
Two questions that I think a lot of people have. I'll start with the first one. The more that people play around with these tools, the more they start to realize there are some limitations, and in fact, they can generate completely wrong answers, or in some cases, completely made-up answers. How do we, actually know when an AI chatbot is telling us the truth?
We don't, and that's what's sowing confusion in the marketplace. There's this sense that there's a sense of excitement that's kind of tempered by concern about how these chatbots will be implemented and whether or not we can get to a point where we have confidence that the answers they're providing are accurate and can refer to where those answers came from. The way the systems work, that's just not possible at this point.
Tripp, the other major question that I have when it comes to AI is a lot of people, when ChatGPT was first debuted, said, oh, this is going to be the thing that kills Google, just as an example. And it's really, really cheap for Google. If you go and search something on Google, the cost to Google is minimal to deliver you a result. On the other hand, ChatGPT costs a whole lot more because of all the computing power that's needed in order to process the responses. How do we go from, hey, this is cool, to, hey, this is profitable?
There's going to need to be some achievements in terms of cost reductions on the back end. How much compute power is needed to field these questions is going to need to be contracted over time in order to make this cost effective. And right now, what we're seeing from Google is this effort to try to walk a middle road where they're going to try to sustain search and make sure that search is still the predominant way that people get information, while cultivating this chatbot to do some of the things that search can't do, some of the complex, field some of the complex questions like, hey, I'm going to Stockholm next week. Can you give me a 3-day itinerary? And a chatbot can generally provide you with that itinerary down to what restaurants to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at.
Very good. Tripp, appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
That is Tripp Mickle from the New York Times talking about AI chatbots.